Hey guitar players, it's Nate here, and a couple of months ago I made a video called 20 chords you need to know to be a real guitar player, and I had no idea that the response to that video would be so good and you guys would like a simple resource like that so much. So much so that I decided to do kind of a follow-up or part 2 to that because I got so many YouTube comments like these. With that in mind, in this video we're going to go through 20 chords that I think you need to know if you want to be a solid intermediate player. Let's start off with some inversions, and if you don't know what an inversion is, it's just when you play a chord and a note besides the root of the note is the lowest note of the chord, like the third or the fifth of the chord. And this first one is just a D over F sharp. So instead of having a D in the bass, or as the lowest note, we just have an F sharp in the bass. And to get that, you have to reach around with your thumb, which is a little bit awkward if you've never done that before. Put that F sharp, the third in the bass. And this is a great kind of walk-up chord. All these inversion chords are really... So from that D over F sharp to a G or something like that. And this one is movable. Instead of playing just a D over F sharp like this, what you can do is leave the A and D strings out and move this shape anywhere and play just the low E string and then the top 3 strings. So if you move this up a whole step, you get an E over G sharp. Next chord is G over B, another inversion. It's just a G, first inversion, so it has the B in the bass, the third, instead of the G, the root note. So all you have to do is take this low G out of the equation. Don't play the low E string. And again, this is a really great tool for kind of walking from chord to chord. So like from a G to a C. Get that half step walk up in there. Next inversion is a C over E, and it's kind of the same idea as the last chord. You just make a C chord, and instead of having the C as the lowest note there, you take that out and have the third, the E, as the lowest note in the chord. And this one is movable as well. You have to make a bar though. So if I take this shape minus the C there and make it with these 2 fingers and move it up and then put a bar down, now I have a first inversion D major chord. So that F sharp is in the bass, the D over F sharp, and there's another D over F sharp. So it's kind of 2 different ways to play the same chord. This next chord is really handy for playing church music or old hymns because it lends itself for moving from like a 1 chord if you're playing an A to a D. And all it is a first inversion A major chord, so A over C sharp or A with the C sharp in the bass. And not a lot of people know this one for some reason. They just don't think about it. So it's A and then just add your pinky up here on the 4th fret for a C sharp. Just play the middle 4 strings. And you can hear how it goes from an A over C sharp to a D. It sounds really good. All right, on to some sus chords. This one was a big request in the comments. So if you make a D major, a D sus4, all you have to do is put your pinky down on the 3rd fret of the high E string. It sounds kind of tentative, like it needs to resolve down back to that major, straight D major chord. So that's one way you can think about that chord. So, and this one is movable. You don't have to play the low root note. What you can do is move it up a whole step. If you want to play an E sus4, just play the top 3 strings. Just think about it like that. Or if you're really adventurous. Alright, you can't learn a D sus4 chord without learning a D sus2 chord. So let's get that one in there too. They go together a lot. So if you have a regular D major chord, D sus4, all you have to do to make a D sus2 is play the open high E string. Just take your middle finger off of that 2nd fret of the high E string. And again, it sounds like it kind of wants to resolve up to the D major chord. So these go well together a lot in different music. Sus4, regular major, sus2, back to major. And again, this one is movable just like the last one. So if you want to make like an E sus2, just move the whole thing up a whole step. And then you can move. It's a little bit trickier, but you can do it. It's a good voicing for that. A sus4, kind of the same idea. You just make an A major chord, come down with your pinky on the 3rd fret this time, from the 2nd up to the 3rd fret of the B string. You can hear how that is kind of tentative again. It really wants to resolve down to a regular A major chord. And again, if you want to make this into a B chord, B sus4 chord, for example, you just move the whole little A shape up, bar it. I like to do it like that, and play just those 3 strings that you're actually fretting, and then move that 3rd up to the 4th for a B sus4, or you can do the whole like bar chord thing. For a sus2 and a sus2, all you have to do, instead of playing a regular A major chord, just take your third finger off, and you end up with like an add 9 chord or A sus2. And again, these go really well together. The A to the A sus4, A sus2, back to the regular A. And if you want to make this one movable, you almost have to use a bar chord. You don't have to, but it makes it easier. What you can do is play just a regular B bar chord, using the A shape, put your pinky up 1/2 step for sus4, and then for the sus2, just take your pinky off. That's it for sus chords. Let's move on to a few major 7th chords. That was another big request. So if you start off with an A major, just open A major, what you can do is take this note right here with your middle finger, that's a root note, and lower it by 1/2 step to make it A major 7. And you have to flip your index finger and middle finger around if you make an A like I do. And that gives you an A major 7 chord. So you can hear the difference between the regular A major and the A major 7 is extremely jazzy, or at least starts to give you that jazzy sound. And if you want to make this one movable, you can just make that A major 7 with these 3 fingers and then move up to wherever you like. If I move up a whole step and bar it, I get a B major 7 chord. So just moving that shape around, it's a really good exercise for that. Here's another voicing for a major 7th chord, and this one has its root note, the lowest root note on the 6th string. It's a G major 7. And this one's kind of weird because you don't play the A string, you skip it and kind of mute it with your index finger right here. But you do play that low E string, and then you have what looks like an A minor chord right there with these 3 fingers. And then the high E string is muted to where you just don't play it. So what I end up doing is just taking the pick and these 3 fingers and kind of plucking like a piano, leaving the A and high E strings out, and that's my G major 7 chord. And this one is fully movable, super easy once you have the shape down. So if I want to play an A major 7, all I have to do is move up a whole step, and there it is. One more major 7 chord for you. This is a D major 7, super easy in the open position too. All you have to do is bar the top 3 strings on the 2nd fret, and then add in the open D string, leave the low E and A strings out, and get a D major 7. Pretty easy. And if you want to make it movable, just make the bar with your 3rd finger and then move it up a whole step, and then also move your root note up a whole step, so it'll be the 2nd fret of the D string to make it E major 7. So from a D major 7 to an E major 7, F sharp, move it around anywhere you like. Okay, you need some minor 7th chords to go along with this that'll help you start getting into jazz or other types of music that use these more complex chords. So an A minor 7 is our first voicing for this, and it's just like an A minor. Only take your 3rd finger off of that G string and play it open. That gives you your minor 7th interval to make a minor 7 chord. So A minor 7, if you want to make it movable, make those 2 notes with your 2nd and 3rd fingers, move it up like a whole step, and then put a bar down. That gives you a B minor 7. A minor 7, B minor 7. All right, 6th string root note minor 7 shape. We'll go with a G minor 7. This has kind of the same concept as the G major 7, and that we're leaving the A string out and kind of muting it with our index finger that's playing the root note here. And then all you have to do is play just like you would an A bar chord. Play the D, G, and B strings with your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret. And leave the high E string out. So pick's getting the low E string, and then my fingers are getting the D, G, and B strings. And you can strum too if you want, because this A is muted. Just be sure not to play that high E string or to mute it. And again, it's movable. So if you want to play an A minor 7 with this shape, just move it up 2 frets to the 5th fret, and there you go. Last minor 7 chord is a D minor 7, and if you start with just a regular open D minor, what you want to do is move this note right here, this root note, with your 3rd finger on the B string back 1 whole step, and you end up with this voicing right here. You can either make a little mini bar on the 1st fret of the high E and B strings, and then play the 2nd fret of the G string along with the root note there, the open D. Or you can play like this, doesn't matter. Whichever one's more comfortable for you. So D minor 7, and if you want to make it movable, and then just move it up a whole step, stick my index finger down to compensate for the root note. Then you have that E minor 7 using the D minor 7 shape. I wanted to give you one other voicing for a 7th chord to kind of go with the major and minor 7th chords we've been going over. It's this one. And it's kind of the same idea as the other 6-string root note 7th chords we've gone over here. This is a dominant 7th though. So your index finger for a G7 chord grabs the 3rd fret, mute the A string, mute the high E string, and then you have this shape on the D, G, and B strings. Looks like a D, but it's moved over one string set. And then along with that root, you get... It's like a scaled down version of this 7 chord, but it's a little bit more jazzy, or used more in jazz. And if you want to make that movable, just get the shape down and move it anywhere you like. So if you move it up 2 frets, you end up with an A7. All right, last 7th chord is just a minor 7 flat 5, and this is a really common voicing, again, to start getting into jazz and maybe playing some jazz standard chord progressions, things like that. And it's a F sharp minor 7 flat 5. It's movable just like all the other 7 chords that we've been going over. And if you have your middle finger here on the F sharp, that's the lowest root note. Again, the A string is muted. High E string, don't play that either, or mute it. And then 3rd finger, 2nd fret of the D, pinky, 2nd fret of the G, index finger, 1st fret of the B. F sharp minor 7 flat 5. You want to move it to a G sharp minor 7 flat 5. Just move it up 2 frets, back to F sharp. All right, C9, this is the funky chord used all the time in funk, but blues and jazz too. Really important to have some 9 chords down if you want to get into that style of music. So, lowest root note, or lowest note, root note, there on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, the A string. Then the 3rd is right there, index finger, 2nd fret of the D string. Lowered 7th, or dominant 7th there, 3rd finger, 3rd fret of the B, sorry, the G string, and then the B string is the 3rd fret as well. That's the 9 of the chord. So just sliding in from below is one way to make this chord really funky. And even some people kind of flatten out their 3rd finger to grab the 3rd fret of the high E string as well. And this one is movable. You can use all those 2 shapes and move them anywhere you want. If you move it up a whole step, you end up with a D9. Back to a C9. Once you get your C9 down, it's going to be really easy to play a C minor 9. Only one note changes. So if you have your C9, index finger, remember I said is the 3rd, so all you have to do is lower that by 1/2 step. So that gives you a really cool minor color to start working into your playing in your songs. If you want to make it movable, all you have to do, same thing, just move it to where your root note. In this case, it's on a D, so I'm doing a D minor 9. I like to call this one the RPG chord. You'll see why. It's called a D6. And if you've ever played an RPG, oh, enemy's coming, right? Time to fight. Oh, you won. It's good to go. So to make this D6 chord, all you have to do is make a regular D, and then take your middle finger off. Play that open B string. That's it, just top 4 strings. And then if you want to make it movable, make the chord with your 3rd and 4th fingers, move it up a whole step to make it E6, and then bar the top 4 strings. Very moody chord. The last chord I have for you is a power chord, and you may be thinking, Nate, that should have been in the other video, the one before this. I hear what you're saying, but this is an important power chord to get down because not a lot of people make really good use of this. A lot of people do this for like a G power chord or this, but using a D shape for a power chord as well can be really useful because it gives you a higher voicing that might come in really handy if you're playing with another guitar player or piano player and you need to kind of get out of that lower register. So what you're going to do is just take a regular D major chord. That's going to be your foundation for that. You can move that up to where your root note with your pinky is on a G, and then leave the high E string out because that's the 3rd. And all you're going to do is kind of play a D-shaped bar chord right here, but leave out that 3rd. Same thing as a power chord, just up 1 octave. If you want to make it movable, if you want to make, let's say, an A power chord, just move it up 1 whole step. So that's a lot of chords to learn. And let me know, did you know all of these chords already, or are some of them new to you? And if they were new to you, which ones did you like the sound of the best? Was it the major 7, minor 7, minor 9, 6 chord? Let me know in the comments below. See you later. Oh, enemy's coming, right? Time to fight. Oh, you won. It's good to go.
Oh, you won. That was a quick battle.
Yeah. It's the beginning of the game. What can I say?